you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two Flavor Flays.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page.
Whoa.
And we're live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. It's your host, the Happy Hoodlums themselves, Mr. Kemper Woodruff and Mr. Zachary Sampson, the beefy meat castle up in the Kona. And we also have a very special guest, my brother in arms, Mr. Bryan Mumford of PDX Arsenal. How's it going?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
I love your laid-back intro, but we see all the badassery going on behind you, dude. It's fucking awesome. So,
Hey, it's just a fake background I got off Google, so.
It's cooler than Vlad TV's drum set. For sure.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're good, man. What's been up with you? Kind of what have you been doing with PDX Arsenal? I know last time we had you on, for those that didn't see the first episode, watch that shit. And I'll tell you right now, that was during a chaotic time when we were following you around during Measure 114, trying to do some documentary stuff with you.
Yeah, so that documentary actually got a ton of traction, and definitely want to shout you guys out for all the hard work that you put into the back end. And Kemper, I had you crouched down in my passenger seat in my truck getting content. So yeah, man, major kudos to both of you. But yeah, we've been staying really busy. This last year, I personally have really focused on kind of punching through that ceiling and growing to the next level. And I brought 4 new staff members on that are really kind of hitting the ground running with it. I got them through certification, training, all that kind of stuff, and really have a lot of confidence that they can carry forth that reputation that we've built here at PDX Arsenal within the community. And so we've really been kind of focusing on individual growth that affects the company overall, and that allows me to free up some time to go find new venues and stuff like that. So it's been really cool to kind of see all the hard work put into action and paying off here in the last few months for sure.
Hell yeah, keeping up with the expansion. And I got to tell people, like, you hire top-notch trainers, instructors, and you really do everything you can to, like, build them. And that's really cool because you're not just a company that's, like, teaching the classes, even though there is an overwhelming need for people to get their concealed carry license these days, especially, in Portland. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
you're actually teaching instructors to be instructors,
It's important to me that, people are personable first and foremost, because the main company mission at PDX Arsenal from inception has been people over profit. And in an industry so driven by being first to market or being first to sell something, not forgetting what people truly appreciate at the fundamental level, which are relationships and feeling understood. That's been our true success here at the company.
Yeah, and with more staff, have you noticed being able to get out on the range more with people is kind of empowering folks?
Yeah, well, my toxic trait is that I hire on more staff to free up more of my own personal time to grow the company, and then I start a new company. So it's a sick, but a blessing and a curse,
Hell yeah, tell us about that, man. What's the new stuff that you got cooking up?
Well, a lot of the services that we offer at the company are not just centric around concealed carry, but we also do live fire training. We do some gunsmithing, like upgrade type work, triggers, sights, that type of thing. And then for the concealed carry classes, we are not obligated, but highly encouraged to conduct the federal fingerprinting, the FD 258 forms, as well as like professional licensed photography, including things like passports or other licensing needs. And so I kind of diversified away from the gun industry per se and started a new company at the beginning of the year called Pix, Prints, and Notary. So I also got permission through the state of Oregon to do notary work, and it allows us to kind of while under the PDX Arsenal umbrella, kind of diversify the services that we offer and reach a broader community.
That's genius because, anyone that starts buying guns usually winds up with guns and then winds up with suppressors. And then, if God forbid anything happens to them, you know, it's really beneficial to have a trust in place for these things to not be subject to probate.
Yeah.
I've gone through hell in the probate, process after my dad died, and I still haven't seen anything out of that. So for people that do have children and are really getting into kind of prepping with what they've seen on the horizon, who knows if America is going to find themselves in conflict. Although we've been in proxy, wars for the past like what 2 years, 3 years now. Um, so and side note, what's your take on that kind of shit? When you look at the world and Putin's coming out giving speeches and all kinds of shit, what do you see it as?
Man, one thing I've learned after the last year and a half that I've been through is that there's only so much that I have in my control. And I've got a lot of my own personal opinions about all that stuff, but I've also made a commitment to myself not to make this political or anything like that. So, kind of tying that in with the fact that, while there's only so much in my control, I've got enough on my own plate trying to run a couple companies and be a good father figure to my girls' kids and stuff like that, that the things I can't control, the more energy I invest into those, the more upset and I become, and the more I lack in other important areas of my life.
You're such a stud. What a fucking great answer. He's running for
Yeah.
mayor next, you guys. He just killed that shit out of the park. Because
No more political stuff. I'm good on all that.
I got you. He dodged that one like big time. But I guess in lighter news, what are you shooting these days? I know is that a fix back there?
Yeah, back on the table, we just recently started doing some longer range courses out at the facility that we utilize, Douglas Rouge Rifle Club, which for those not familiar with that range, it's incredible. They have 1,000-yard rifle range, indoor, outdoor pistol. They got everything. So we've been doing training there for a few years now, and this is my suppressed 6.5 Creedmoor from Q, and it's called The Fix. So yeah, I actually bought it down, I think from Kemper at Northwest Armory, which, by the way, guys, shout out to Northwest Armory and all the support that they've shown us over the years.
Yeah, it's the coolest spot to buy your guns, in my opinion. And on the other side, we have the Harley. So tell us a little bit about how Harley has really blessed your company.
Yeah, I think it's an inner desire for any guy, especially if you're of the adrenaline junkie type, to want to ride a bike. And I knew from a young age that with all the, piss and vinegar I had running through me, buying a bike would have been a street bike, and you guys probably wouldn't be doing this interview right now. So I really thought about it for a long time. And as I watched my dad go through the final year of his life and caring for him throughout that process, it really made me reconsider what the things were that I wanted to accomplish before, I find myself in a situation, anything like that. So two things came to mind. One was skydiving. I wanted to check that off the list. And the second was buy motorcycles. So I ended up going out buying a Harley here at the local Harley dealership, Volcano. And ironically enough, 7 months later, we got a contract with them doing their concealed classes. So we're out there once a month now, and at their bike nights doing our classes and kind of playing with the crowd out there.
That's dope.
Gotta love it. Blessings in all shapes, manners, and size. Um,
Absolutely.
in terms of kind of your personal life, is there anything that's been kind of cooking that you've been proud of and things you've been wrestling with? Because I know
Well,
owning a
that's
business,
the. Go ahead.
I was going to say owning a business in and of itself is a lot. You're keeping up with so many people. And I remember when I was doing the documentary, I had never seen anyone's phone ring so much in my life. until I became a real estate professional myself. Now my shit rings off the hook. But I get it now. But I was like, damn, bro, how do you function with that? You know?
Yeah, especially over the last few years here in Oregon, between all the rioting, COVID, fires, looting, Measure 114, it's been one hurdle after another. So it was a little bit refreshing to see that this legislative session here in Oregon wasn't major this year, but it's kind of a rebuilding year for the other side to come back and attack us. So, what I've really mainly been focusing on is working with both Derek LeBlanc and building stronger the community to rally support. So when things come back, that we're ready to go. We're not playing defense anymore. We're kind of ready to go on the offensive.
Who's Derek LeBlanc?
So Derek runs a very great program called the Kids Safe Foundation. They work with Cabela's all over the place. They're very tied in with sporting systems up in Vancouver, which also shout out to Dan and Heidi Mitchell because they are at the forefront of the fight up north in Washington.
Okay, perfect. And what are they kind of providing for children? Are they kind of pushing for, protecting them and actually protecting them, not just saying no guns at schools, or like what's the deal?
We all know a very important part of educating children and around firearm safety is kind of replacing that curiosity with experience and education paired together. So Derek runs a very great program, Kids Safe Foundation, and they'll go around. They've got Ruger 1022s. They've got different types of guns that people can bring their children to and shoot in a safe environment and learn both the fundamentals of firearm safety as well as kind of pairing that with range etiquette and really kind of encasing that around patriotism, which I think is a long lost discussion that we have in this country and has too often been tied to the ideal of racism.
100%, dude. People, they love to blur lines in the news and in the media, anything to get people watching and arguing. I think what's beautiful about that is you touched on something, and that's not making this anything more than a normal tool that you would see around your house, just like you would see a hammer or a chainsaw or something. You know that it's dangerous, but it's for a good intended purpose, when used properly, and you don't use it improperly. And so if we can kind of get children at a young age not to see it as this like, ooh, like I need to mess with this forbidden thing, or seeing it as like those are daddy's toys, because they're not, even though they can be used for recreation, right? That's a very healthy thing to instill at a young age.
Absolutely.
I didn't
And
know
something that gun owners aren't aware of here in Oregon was part of Senate Bill 554 was restricting children access to being able to do things like target shoot even on family property without parental supervision or adult supervision. So, we've seen things from every aspect be attacked around children and guns, and understandably so with a lot of the major events we've seen pop up across the country with school shootings and stuff like that. But firearm safety and children needing that education has been around ever since guns have been invented. So, we're really happy to see that there are people like Derek stepping up to kind of bring up that next generation the right way, which is safe, responsible, and educated.
Yeah. And I gotta say, when people die, everyone asks the very important question of why. We look at life and we want answers. And when you're really hurt by the situation and really affected by it, you want to blame something, and you want really good reasons, and sometimes you don't get explanations. Life just happens.
Yeah, and that's the other commitment. I'm really happy that you brought this up. The other commitment I made to myself was that during this podcast tonight, we kind of get more than surface level and reach down to what's really been going on in my life, because it's easy to talk about and see on social media or whatever the things that are going great for all of us. But, you know, that vulnerability is important for that relatable aspect. And it's been the most difficult last 15, 16 months of my life. And I want to kind of open up about that tonight. So, you know, we can go into this more in depth, but over the last 16 months, I've lost two of my best friends to suicide, another one to a fentanyl overdose. I lost my dad to stage 4 esophageal cancer, and went through a pretty tumultuous relationship that resulted in the loss of what would have been my firstborn son. So, um, you know, I understand just through working with so many different people that we're all going through an incredibly difficult time right now. And while my circumstances may be unique to me, that that importance of staying in touch with the people closest to you and allowing yourself to be vulnerable in times like this, you know, can really help a lot of people out.
Yeah, and you know, rest in peace to your dad, because your dad's a great man, and you know, just he warms my heart every time I think about him, brother. Um, what I can say, from you know, losing my own father, losing my best friend at a very young age, to gun violence in particular, you know, like when we get affected by these things early, especially as men, we don't know how to react oftentimes, you know, because we want to be there. We're men of our people, of our community. And it's like there's certain places that I don't know how to touch in somebody's heart and in their life, you know? Um and so what are some of the things that have kept you you know, kind of on course? I guess that would be a good way to talk about this, and then we'll kind of peel back layer upon layer, you know?
Yeah, you know, I can kind of tie that in with PDX Arsenal at the same time, because my subconscious go-to has been to keep myself busy, and I'm very good at doing that. I've been able to keep myself busy with PDX Arsenal when, like I said, I free up my time. And, you know, the reality of the situation is some days that I don't want more free time where I'm able to process through a lot of the trauma that I've gone through. And an unfortunate and, you know, aftermath, unexpected byproduct of going through so many important losses in my life in such a short period of time is that I hadn't even finished a grieving process of one very important individual before a new one happened. And so the days where I'm able to slow down and really kind of think about where I'm at and check in with myself are the days that, you know, I crumble. And, you know, there's a lot of days of a lot of weeks that I still find myself breaking down and crying, and have a lot of misplaced anger. And, you know, there's some things that I recognize that I need to step up and address that I've failed to as of yet. And it's, you know, I've separated myself from my faith environment where I don't want to do that because it's important to me. But, you know, to be honest with you guys and the audience, is that, you know, I've had a lot of anger and frustrations with God. And while I recognize that they're misplaced and, you know, me wanting my reality to be the outcome, it's not the case. And to go through a lot of the things that I've been through within the last, like I said, 15, 16 months is really made me change a lot of outlooks that I had previously on the way I look at life.
100%, you know. And what I will say is purpose can keep us on track, and kind of bolster us up a little bit, but that doesn't mean that it's not, you know, to like a house built on sand, you know what I mean? And over time, as seasons change, sometimes the smallest thing can erode, you know, as the wind blows, that shit falls out. But what I can say is, in my life, right? And I'll use my life as an example because I lost my dad really abruptly. Um, shit, almost 2 years ago now. And I've lost other people abruptly too. But like when that happens and they're really impactful, it's like selfishly, we always want more time than we got, right? And that's human. And when I take a step back from that and I look at it outside of my feelings, just on black and white, like a storyteller, and I let the filmmaker in me come to life, and I start looking at it through that lens and look at the arc of their life, and sometimes how people who don't die abruptly, like I know your father had a bit of a drawn out process. It's like you watch how he held out, and you see like, whoa, that was his fighting spirit and his way of fighting it, and showing you guys like in the worst of circumstances, like this is what a man is. And that in a strange way, like complete, like life is complete in beauty and tragedy, right?
Yeah, and I just want to kind of touch on that real quick is that I want to shout out my dad first and foremost. I'm so blessed that you had an opportunity personally, Kemper, to meet my dad because none of anything that I am would have been possible without him. And, I never want to be that person to speak on another individual situation that I haven't been through. And I understand how rare my experience has been having not only a present father figure, but a business owner that built his company from the ground up, and after working 12 to 14-hour days would come off work and be my basketball coach or my baseball coach. And it requires such a special individual that to do that, both at the professional level and the family level. And I was grateful enough to have had both. So, I understand that while the last 10 months of my father's life that I helped care for him through were the most difficult of both of ours, other people have been through a lot more trauma and a lot worse experiences by not having that father figure present. So, regardless of what everybody's family situation may look like, who's listening to this, I want you to know that at the end of the day, family is the most important thing that we have. And even through all the trauma that I personally been through, and like I said, I can only speak for myself, I want to reiterate that for those who may have an estranged relationship with a parent or a sibling, that reach out. Our time's limited here on this planet, and at the end of the day, we don't want the last conversation or the last experience that we've had with somebody that we share blood with to be one that we'd be disappointed with if it was the last one.
100%. Well said. And I was thinking about something on my way back from the gym tonight, and it was like everybody says, send it. We say it about drinking a beer, we say it about taking a chance, right? But like, really, what's your message? And when you find that, send it, because all of us get a message daily through our spirit, you know? And you don't have to go to church to be down with God. Straight up, I want to say that too, because I truly believe there's a slice of the universe that we're all given, where we have this weird privacy that we go into this little closet of ourselves, right? And yet we feel more seen than almost anywhere else. And it's through our own self, but with different eyes, that we see these circumstances. And you can't lie to yourself about it. Even though you might feel this way, the reason I'm all fucked up is because I also see it this way. And there's this other voice saying, yeah, but look at it this way. And I'm tearing myself apart inside. So fuck it, I don't know what to do. Right? And that's when vices come in. Right? And you never know when someone's dealing with that, because oftentimes, like when an animal's hurt, they go away from their owner. you know they don't want to be seen by who's closest to them. you know and as pillars in the community, and really men of our people, um it's hard for us to share that sometimes, because we think being hard hides us being hurt, right?
Well, we have a narrative that we subconsciously try to fit within, and that men traditionally are known for being, which is tough, resilient, problem solvers, people that have solutions for everything. And that's what makes going through a personal struggle that much more difficult. Is if you're lucky in this life as a man, you've got a close network, even if it's one other man in your life that you feel comfortable being vulnerable around. And I'd say, and this is, I've only come to this realization after the fact, one of the most difficult things has been, the loss of almost everybody in that immediate network that I had, other men that I felt comfortable being vulnerable around. And there's a lot of other people that I'm so grateful that I have in my life, just because we've had the long relationship that we've had, but including you, Kemper, is that, it is so important that everybody, including men in this world, and especially today, have another person they can not only relate to, but feel comfortable being vulnerable around to offload a lot of the burden that we carry around. And a harsh reality that people deal with, including experiences that I've gone through even recently, are that when we don't deal with a lot of trauma and we compartmentalize it, keep ourselves busy, and go through a lot of these motions that we do to not focus on what we need to focus on, which is ourselves, it manifests itself in ways we don't want it to. It comes out in the random breakdowns that you can't explain, why or when it happens. And there's really rough outcomes for a lot of people, even worse than that. So I'm very grateful that even after everything that I've been through, that my God does continue to give me the strength to be vulnerable, even on a podcast like this, and let everybody know that while things may seem great around me, that inside here I'm human, and we all are, and there's a lot of emotions that we're all going to feel and are normal. We should feel. The first thing my doctor tried to do was give me antidepressants, and that was before asking about my sleep schedule, my diet, my exercise, any of that. And it just kind of showed me that, I'm going to have to deal with this. And in some ways I'm working through it, and in other ways I'm not. So, that's me today.
Hell yeah. And, I applaud you. That was extremely well said, and straight from the heart. And I think, to touch on what you were saying about our narratives of like masculinity, right? If your whole self identity hinges on you being perceived as masculine, you have a narrow scope of comfort, you know? Because what's real man shit is speaking your truth. And that's, what we're doing here and what's so important. And so I just want to let you know I appreciate what you're saying. And, to touch on something that we don't really talk about as men is losing children. You know, miscarriages and shit like that happen. I've experienced, going through that, and it's fucking confusing, you know? Um, on the one hand, you feel like you should feel more, and on the other hand, you're like numb sometimes, and you can't help it, And then there's other times when you're just fucking in tears, just absolutely broken. That's okay. But you, yeah, I don't mean to take this to the dark place, but like for real, that's stuff that we don't really get taught how to navigate, and life happens, and all of a sudden you're like, well, it goes back to us questioning purpose, questioning why did this happen, right?
And
And
some answers we have to come to the realization that we're never going to understand, at least in this life. And, I'm very grateful for the platform I have through PDX Arsenal, where, part of the minimum training curriculum that we have to cover is suicide prevention. And obviously with, two major losses tied to that in my life, with men I cared about and felt vulnerable around, it puts a different spin on it. And so, I'm making a point to tell all my students, and I mean this in the most sincere way possible, that, if you're struggling with some form of mental health and you don't feel like you have somebody else to reach out to, please reach out to me. And, my number on the front of my business cards is my personal cell phone. When I tell people they can get a hold of me at 2 in the afternoon or 2 a.m., it's because I'm not in the mood to lose another friend, or somebody else in my life who was, is a good individual that I deeply care about. And sometimes that phone feels like 8,000 pounds to pick up and call anybody about. But I understand that. I've been through it and lived it, but I'm here at the other end, also willing to relate to and help anybody else that I can.
And that's no bullshit, because I've tested. I've called him at 3 a.m. before. 100% I have. But that's really because, like, it's a rare honor and privilege to deal with somebody in those fragile states, you know? Um and I appreciate you for that, And it's okay to admit, like, when we're in a fucked up situation, and to kind of um bring us out of that, we have to go back to, like, our mission. Sometimes, like, yeah, I'm hurt, but what's the final result of this hurt gonna be, right? And that might just be enough to get you out the door, because when you're in your house, all those thoughts feel so much more real. And I found, it in loss and dealing with it, like, memories are like trap doors, right? So you might be just going through the supermarket, and all of a sudden you hear a fucking song, and you just like, oh my God, and it's like a pitfall. But if you're taking care of, like you said, your diet, your exercise, you have a sense of community around you, or at least engagement with other humans and purpose, and you're filling a good majority of your free time with things that are actually productive, even if it's not productive so much for you directly. If it's productive for the greater good, that gives you almost like a little bit of a rope, or it lessens the fall from that trap door, because you're just going to have those. It's like a landmine. You're just walking, you step on it, it blows up, you have this freak out, but you're able to bounce back quicker. It
Hey, I don't want to put this even under the banner of critical thinking, but common sense tells us that, if we're going through difficult times that life throws at us without, and all of it's out of our control, the things that we can control as far as getting sleep, getting, healthy food, water, the things that we need, exercise to function as human beings. I see around me every day, and I fall into the trap way too often myself of wanting instant gratification or an instant solution. And, unfortunately, in my experience, the medical profession, while I respect so many individuals within it, including my partner, is that, my experience with doctors has been, here's a pill for it. And I know, while so many people out there that are going to be tuned into this are going through a unique situation of their own, that before we go to the instant medical solution, which most of the time comes with side effects of themselves, that we take accountability and address the things in our life that we need to. And I join in that struggle of this being a continuing journey for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I want to bring Zach in on this, because I know Zach's definitely gone through a lot of stuff, and he's one of the most stoic, like, steadfast people. And I so admire his discipline. There are days that, like, I would be at the gym. I think he hasn't seen me cry at the gym, or, like, be on the verge of tears. He might have known that I was fucked up when I was there, and just came to, like, kick it with me. Um, and, like, I've been the same way. I've pulled up on Zach before and seen him, there and processing physically, you know. So run us through a little bit. I know we've talked about it on other podcasts, but your take on kind of mental health and overall balance in life.
One of the so I got really into reading a couple years ago. Probably like early late December or late 2022. I got really into reading, and one of the first books that I read was Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it changed my entire thought process on approaching life, more specifically about how people interact with me, and how I perceive other people. But it has a lot of applications to life in general. But that book sparked my enthusiasm for philosophy and stoicism as a whole. And one of my favorite quotes, I believe it's of Marcus Aurelius, is that you have to treat the body rigorously so that the mind doesn't betray you. Something to that effect. And that's one of the reasons why fitness is such like a huge part of my life. So much so that through one of my most difficult times, I was in the gym while also I was doing workouts while crying. And Kemper may not have seen like the literal tears, but he was there in between times where I was crying. So may have been resting in between sets. But during that workout, before and after he came to talk to me, I had tears running down my face. And a lot of the things that really got me through those types of things is quite literally focusing on my personal health. So whether it be improving myself physically, eating, reading more, even on days that I don't leave my house, or I'm just running errands, I get dressed, right? Maybe I'm just hanging out at the house like I did today, and I got dressed with, jeans, clean shirt, clean socks, and I put my shoes on. And even though I wasn't doing anything outside of the house, getting dressed in the mornings is one of those small things that for me makes me feel better about my day. And there's just like adding little tiny things that I do for myself that makes me feel more secure and happy about who I am as a person, whether it be like reading, for example, or just maybe adding one more thing to my self-care routine, whether it be like taking care of my beard in a different way, or getting a haircut. Something simple can actually boost your, I guess, serotonin or dopamine or just feeling of like productivity. But also like I don't so I'm not a huge fan of talking to people directly about my problems. I've done it and I do it usually after I've had enough time to process it. I usually don't use like venting as a way to process. But when I've trying to figure out where I was going with that.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to hop in here
Yeah,
and just,
of course.
touch on a couple of important things. Is that, I cannot even begin to open to anybody else up enough about. I have cried more in the last 16 months of my life than I have in the previous 32 years.
Honestly,
And
same probably.
there is nothing wrong with a guy crying.
No,
Sometimes when we do have a difficult time opening up to another individual, like that's the soul release that a lot of people have, and it's the one that God gave to us. And the tears, there's a lot of healing in tears that, when we withhold those, it manifests, like I said, in ways that we don't want. So whether we are blessed enough to have that ability to have another individual in our life, anybody to open up to, that's beneficial of itself. And I'll tell you what, like there's a lot of therapeutic benefit that I'm finding immediately in the opening of my personal experience with what I know is going to be a wide audience. So, Zach, I really commend you, and it highlights a very important thing that while we are all going through our unique experiences and a lot of times turbulent and out of our control, that the shared experience and the underlying desire that all of us carry within is the connection between individuals. And it can be within families, it can be within friendships, but I like to consider myself a people person, and it's what I've found success in my professional capacity. But that connection is that deep rooted desire that all of us carry around within us. And, you'll be amazed when you have the ability to open up and be vulnerable about the depth of connection that you're able to establish with somebody else in your life.
That's
Yeah.
like growing up. I always say this to people kind of jokingly, but it's also true. I was a loser in high school, and like I had zero friends. I had no friends, pretty much. So,
I'm sorry.
uh, it's kind of funny, but it's true. Um,
Yeah.
I was a loser in high school with zero friends, and for a long time, and I attribute that to being part of the reason that I internalize most things before actually like expressing them. Um, but what that made me think was I would be okay being by myself all the time. And what I realized coming out of high school and then into college where I met Kemper was that that wasn't true. Um, because once I found a group of friends and like a community that I could maybe not necessarily be vulnerable with, but could live life around and have fun and enjoy memories and make time for and just experience life together. That changed my whole perspective on society. And then as I got older, I started to realize that human beings are social creatures, and we need that interaction. We need to be close to each other, and um, I'm really happy for the circle of people that I have that includes Kemper and a lot of my friends from the gym because um, the last, like you're saying, the last like 16 months for me, it was the last year has been really difficult. And at the gym, I've cried on one of my coworkers' shoulders because he was just there, and all he did was ask me if I was okay. I said nothing but shook my head, and I just started bawling on his shoulders. Um, and so I'm thankful for those types of people, and even just like that same guy, I was in a mood of just being loving for all my friends, but to show like the quality of that specific person in my life was I texted everybody that I really cared about, and I was just like, hey, I love you and thank you for being in my life. Um, Not knowing that he at one point had gotten a text from a friend just before he ended his life with that same kind of uh like structure. And so he called me and he was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And so that also made me feel like extremely loved for the circle of people that I have in my life. Um and so I can't stress enough when most people say like, "Oh, I just want to live alone in the mountains all the time." I'm like, it takes a very special person to do that, but it also will drive you crazy because you need like humans need interaction, and you'll either lose yourself or you'll die before that happens. Um,
One of the universal truths that I've come to realize is that most people won't appreciate the most important aspects and things that they have in life until they're gone. And, the best way that I personally know how to combat that is to self-reflect. And when you come to a understanding of gratitude, it allows you to reach out and make those text messages or phone calls, letting people closest to you in life, let them know that you care about them, you love them, they're important to you, the things that really matter. And yeah, unfortunately, those realizations for some people come at that point in life where it's, in other words, a goodbye. But I hope that we can all, even in the midst of trials and tribulations, come to that realization that those conversations should be had while we still have people.
yeah,
The people that I've lost in my life, there's nothing I would give more than to be able to talk to them one more time and just let them know that I love them. I care about them and I miss them. And it's one of those aspects of my life and mindsets that I've shifted where I have zero problems with calling people in my life and just checking in with them. And, matter of fact, I just, we have a shared friend of Kemper here, and God bless people like Kemper for being the type of individual who are so bright in both life and personality that, they bring faith, hope, restoration, so many positive attributes to everybody else in their life. So Kemper,
Well,
I will tell you, buddy, I love you to death.
Yeah, I love
likewise,
you
I
too,
love you
bro.
too. I love you guys.
I
But
love you too, Brian. God damn it.
you know, I want to say, one thing I've learned is that like most people look, but they don't care to see because the level of awareness like that they have. Because perspective is the most expensive thing in all the universe because it costs you your innocence, and you might not understand what it means to experience something, and I'll never forget this quote that I heard on the Hotboxing season 1 podcast. But so shout out to Evan Britton. But it's, I hope you never understand the pain it took to become this gentle, you know to understand the nuance of what pain is, and that's why like I joke with a lot of people and I fuck around because I think like he comedy is healing. And shit, now I'm crying, but like legit, tears contain cortisol, and that stress is toxic, and you really only cry when you're overwhelmed, because life is based in water. Life itself is fluid. Consciousness is a stream, right? Like on all levels. So when you reach this point inside of yourself, right? Just like when you're digging in the dirt, right? Sometimes it's just you're banging away at the clay and you're like, "Damn, how's it going to," and you all of a sudden there's the water, right? And you never know, like if you're hard, the way that you're going to get chiseled down to that core that opens you up is is going to be a motherfucker. And like for me, I was always a 1 foot in, 1 foot out person because I leaned on talent. I'm naturally a fucking stud. I'm good at shit, and that's just what it is, right? But I leaned on that until it crippled me, and I had no respect for the processes of life, and so I didn't understand progress. I thought I could shortcut it, and I think so many people, they see this goal of who they want to be, and it's like unobtainable because they can't respect the path. They don't
Well,
know what it takes to be.
the two areas of my life where I've experienced the most growth is through loss and hardship. And the failures that I've gone through have been devastating, both professionally, personally, and everything in between. But we don't appreciate sunny days without the rain. We don't appreciate, like I said, most things until they're gone. So, try to, I know, trust me, on a different level than a lot of people understand what it's like a lot of days to be hanging on by a thread. And the more people I talk to, and again, have that ability to open up and be vulnerable to, I hear it resounded throughout the community. So while our struggles again may be unique and at the individual level, we are all collectively struggling. And the more that we have that ability to remember that the way we navigate life and the interactions we have with other people are a direct representation of ourselves. So, I still cry. I still get upset. I'm very blessed to be able to shed away this weekend down in Southern Oregon and go fly fishing with my brother. But it's a trip that we had bought for my dad at Christmas this last year, to have something to look forward to after he completed treatment. And unfortunately, April 5th this year will be the 1 year anniversary of his passing. So, to kind of tie it back in everything we've talked about is it's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry as a man. It's okay to be honest with yourself and other people about your frustrations you have with your higher power. Um, we are all sharing the human experience, which is not only success and happiness, it's pain, it's tragedy, it's loss, it's what makes everything complete. So, you know, those listening and identifying with the struggle, regardless of what it may be, just know you're not alone.
Yeah. And I want to add to that that pain is precise, but darkness can't exist where there is light. So life goes on. You feel me? And, you know, the darkness just gives contrast and allows the light to pop, but those two things don't exist in the same spot. You're not going to find it that way. That was a dope ass bar. And I just want to say, if that came out of like DMX's mouth, that would have sounded way harder. But, you know, where my dogs at? You know, what's to come though from PDX Arsenal, and you know, what are some of the things in your life that you're most appreciative of on the day to day? Is it
Yeah, so back on the professional front, we got a lot of exciting things in works. We are very grateful to be a part of Wooster Armory out in Beaverton, Oregon, which is Oregon's new state-of-the-art facility that really brings everything under one roof. So you've not only got the retail aspect, but you've got gunsmithing classrooms with different type courses being offered, and then as soon as permitting clears, we'll have a state-of-the-art indoor range available to the public as well. So we are the exclusive instructors out at PDX Arsenal, along with Stephanie from Bellatrix Training, which shout out to Stephanie. And then we've also got, a lot of other major partnerships going on. So Harley Davidson out there at Volcano Harley, and we've got more talks with them at other locations currently going on. And while we've kind of got, I've recognized it over 12, almost 13 years now of business, we've kind of got the lock on Portland. I'm trying to replicate out in Central Oregon a division of PDX Arsenal that can be as successful within the community, operating under that shared mentality of people before profit. And, for other business owners listening out there, that is not a lost trait. Okay. Treat people like you want to be treated. It's one of those universal things that will create success for you down the line, regardless of what industry you're in.
well said, dude?
Boom.
I love it. Tell me a little bit about what fatherhood is like, and having these two wonderful boys and their mama in your life.
Man, I can't tell you. That's what brings me back to peace these days is, the family I'm building. My partner, Tori, she's amazing. She's very educated, professional, caring. She's got the biggest heart in the world. And she's got two amazing boys, Austin and Jameson, who, getting closer to them, falling in love with all of them, has allowed me to tie back in with my inner child. And throughout so much hardship that I know a lot of which we've talked about tonight, it gets so easy to be forced to be an adult. So to be able to separate from everything else, all the craziness going on around me, and remember what it was like to be 6 and 8 years old and have fun with them, it provides me a sense of relief and restoration that very few other things in life, if anything, could ever provide me.
Hell yeah. I know in terms of just experiencing life with my little girl, it is just a game changer. Just the way that you see life through their eyes, and it's like their joy is shared joy. Um, that's really something that you can't put money on. Like it's just a different kind of riches in terms of your experience.
Yeah,
Zach,
throughout car accidents and everything else where I've been close to not having an opportunity to live another day, one of the most important gifts that I've ever been given was a father that showed me love and the way to be a man. So to have the opportunity to pass that on to children in my life who are the closest to me is the greatest gift I know how to give them, and it's just a gift that was given to me.
and just because your dad's so fucking rad Can you tell a couple of your dad's stories, dude? Because your dad is such an awesome, awesome dude.
So I'm going to share a couple stories. I'm going to share a story of him being a little bit wild, which I'm gonna remind everybody the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So if you ever got to wonder, first story will definitely kind of shed some light onto it. Well, the next story, I'll give you an example of him going above and beyond to be, a dad who stepped up in every aspect of the term. So the first story, my mom and dad, I grew up in, a very extrovert household where my parents hosted parties. They had gatherings at their house, a very close network of friends that, a lot of whom I've come to love and get close with. But my dad and mom went on a vacation down in Mexico with two other couples, their best friends. And my mom and dad were the first people to get down to Mexico. So within an hour or two of landing and after a few cocktails, my dad had somehow convinced himself that his friends were there at the hotel already. And so he separated himself from my mom, ended up going down a hallway in the hotel and knocking on a door. And when the door opened, unbeknownst to both my dad and the poor individual opening up the door, my dad had grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall and proceeded to paint him and the entire hotel room in white fire retardant. So within, a couple years later, I hear the other aspect of my dad's friend's story, and they say they're coming down the hallway, and they see three guys in suits surrounding around my dad, and they all made the joke within the group, like, "Oh yeah, they probably got Dave hemmed up." Well, sure enough, it was Dave, and it cost quite a pretty penny and quite a bit of convincing to keep him out of prison down south of the border. So
Oh man.
people ask me, they're like, "Oh, what was he 30 when this happened?" I was like, "No, he was like 60." So
Oh
I
shit.
know that if you don't grow up by, I'd say 35, it's probably not going to happen. And God bless his heart and rest in peace. My dad, while he was the best man that I ever had the privilege of knowing, was also very crazy, and I'm blessed to carry that within me in a sick way. But the other example was just kind of something I touched on earlier, where I can't, I was very aware growing up of how unique and blessed my personal experience with a family unit was. And even though I didn't understand until even the most recent years of what it takes to build something from the ground up, have other people counting on a company, doing things that are required of you to run a company, to pair that with getting off of, there were so many days I remember my dad going to work in the dark at 5 a.m., coming home from work at 6 p.m. at night, if not later, and then, racing from changing his clothes to coming to the gym and being a basketball coach or being my support system. And so while I deal with guns, I deal with people, and I understand um, how important the whole mental health conversation is to everything involved. I want to remind you guys and everybody listening how important the family unit is. And even if one person or multiple people are gone for whatever reason, cling on to the people you have, care for them, tell them and remind them physically that you are there for them. And while I've fallen short in the last year in some aspects due to, hardships that I'm going through personally, this is a reminder to myself too.
All right, I got a big question before we close out. I'm gonna need you to give us the top 5 tenets to manhood from the Mumford himself.
Number one, without exception, is the most, and I will attribute this to success in any capacity I've had in life, is that people may forget your name, they may forget your face, they will never forget the way that you made them feel. So, number one, without exception, treat other people the way that you want to be treated. Right. The second one is to be honest. And this one, again, just being vulnerable and transparent is the second you have the ability to be dishonest with yourself, it is all too easy to be dishonest with everybody else in your life. But being able to be true to yourself and being true to everybody else that know you in your life will provide you the most clarity that nothing else will be able to give you in life. The third thing is persistence. And I will kind of tie that in with your passion, because I'm a firm believer, and I hope I'm living proof for some people that if you are truly passionate about something and you are persistent throughout the comments, the tough times, the things that you will face in your journey along that path where people are going to doubt you, and you have the ability to keep your eye on the prize of knowing what you're worth and what your goal is worth, that persistence will pay dividends. The fourth is organization. And I want to tie this in with mental health because they're directly correlated, where if I have 10 things to think about all at once and I focus on all 10 things at once, I stress myself out, my anxiety goes through the roof, and my productivity declines dramatically. So being able to individualize my tasks throughout the day and be mature enough to come to the understanding that the older I get and the busier I get, the more important a to-do list is, that organization becomes paramount. And, the fifth, while not in order of importance, is balance. And I want to tell everybody is that we hear things in life like, if you love what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. And I want to tell people that's not true. You will work, and you will work hard, and you'll work through a lot of things that you have to get over. But that, that dedication to yourself is something that at the end of the road, if you are blessed enough to be successful at what you do, you will have that confidence and that, that level of pride within your own self to move forth in so many other aspects that are going to benefit you in life. So I just want to remind everybody that, we're all working 1, 2, some of us 3 jobs to keep our heads above water. And whether you own a business or whether you are an employee, it feels like we're working twice as hard to make half as much money. But within this struggle and the shared experience that all of us are going through right now, please never forget to be grateful for the people closest to in your life, your creator, your higher power, your God. And most importantly, never forget, that God is providing you a unique experience in this life to do what you want to do. So reach for it, chase it. There's so many people, including myself, here to support you throughout that journey, like people have supported me. So love you guys.
Brother, there ain't no way I'm about to close this bitch out better than that. To everybody that's looking for a PDX Arsenal podcast, y'all drop some shit in the comments, because I'm telling you, when this man gets some free time, he's made for this shit. He just ran this all the way to the end zone. Big touchdown. We'll catch y'all next week. Look for the clips. They're coming out. Bryan, I love you. Thank you. That was one of the best, if not the best, so
Amazing.
far this week, baby. Let's go.